I just watched this film, so I'm going to talk about this film. The beginning of this film felt like I was watching a shampoo advert, which was very weird, but I was kind of into it. Monkeys in adverts are always enjoyable. Who doesn't like a monkey in an advert? Because Kong is in, like, this Truman Show thing. Because Godzilla is hunting him, and this helps for some reason. The story is basically that these two have some past beef, and they can't help but fight in public about it. You can cut the sexual tension between these two with a knife. Anyway, an evil capitalist company wants to let Kong loose, to follow him home to the Hollow Earth, because there's a power source down there, in this big building, where his ancestors, who are an advanced yet ancient civilization of underground techno-monkeys, kept their big glowing axe for some reason. And they want that power source to power their Mechagodzilla, which obviously goes wrong because technology bad, and Godzilla can't beat off Mechagodzilla all by himself, so he and Kong have to put aside their differences and double team the Mechagodzilla and defeat the evil capitalist machine with teamwork and spilling beer all over its electricity bits. Because you can't have a wet-ass robot, it breaks. It's made of electricity. It's a very silly film, but it was always going to be, wasn't it? The only bit that really bothered me though was this bit, when the lady character and the sign language girl were hiding from one of the battle scenes on a boat, and they locked themselves in a small room on that boat. Why would you lock yourself in a small room on a boat in the middle of a battle scene? You don't want to be locked in a boat. Boats sink. It's ridiculous. But it's not the worst thing in the world. Some of the CGI, however, is. There's a big difference in quality of the CGI in the daytime scenes and the nighttime scenes. The daytime scenes look really dreadful, really. They're not good at all. It looks really video gamey. Like a very good video game, to be fair. But still, it's a bit, soft. But the nighttime scenes look really good. It looks really good in the dark, but for some reason they chose to have two of the monster battle scenes in CGI daytime, and one of them at night. The middle one, at night in the middle of a neon city, looks absolutely amazing, and makes the CGI look a lot less cheap. Well, apart from some of the weird camera work, where it has all these weird swooshy bits and twizzly bits, and one very strange bit where it goes into first person for no reason. But it still looks way better than the daytime action bits. But then they chose to have the last one, the big climax battle, in the day. I suppose it evens all the scenes out and makes it all symmetrical. You have the first one in the daytime so you can actually see the characters. Then you have the cool night one, and then you have to balance it out with another day one for the climax. I think the climax scene would have been better in the nighttime. But if you wanted to keep the whole symmetry thing, then you would have to have the first scene in the nighttime as well, which wouldn't help with being able to see the characters. But I think it would have been for the best if it looked cooler. And I think it would look cooler, because it does look cooler. There's also this great CGI bit, which is a bit like E.T. with the girl and the big monkey where they touch tips. It's all like dark and in the rain, and the CGI looks really great in those circumstances. This film's a little bit like E.T. You've got the alien monster character, only this one wants to go down instead of up, which brings me to the Hollow Earth, the one true conspiracy theory. This film's got some anti-flat earth propaganda, and I'm all for it, because the Hollow Earth is the superior model, and Godzilla agrees. It's the best movie ever. What this made me think though, is how do conspiracy theorists handle this kind of a film? Because the Hollywood elite are supposed to be brainwashing us into believing the globehead lie. But here, the conspiracy theorists are right about their conspiracy belief. About the correct theory that the Earth is hollow. One of the group of main characters are conspiracy theorists, and they're not treated like jokes. I mean, they are the comedic relief, and they do have the funny lines, but they are sympathetic characters. And they are the only characters that you'll remember, which aren't the radioactive lizard and the big monkey and the robot lizard. And when they're saying crazy Illuminati shit, they do sound nuts. But they end up being correct, and they end up being the heroes, and saving the day with beer. It's kind of interesting how in sci-fi you sometimes have the crazy conspiracist who's actually proved right by their conspiracy and their worldview. Yet the impression that you get from conspiracy theorists about Hollywood is that they're trying to indoctrinate you into thinking that conspiracies are crazy, even though those characters end up being the heroes and saving the day. This film in a way is kind of like telling you that conspiracies are true. Like one of the characters is a bit like an Alex Jones person who has a conspiracy podcast, only this guy actually does shit and investigates things instead of just selling soy pills on the internet. Maybe they're just trying to get you used to the Hollow Earth so everyone doesn't freak out when you find out that it's obviously true. The title sequence is kind of interesting, but it is kind of cheap looking. It looks kind of like cheap graphics on a big budget and kind of reminds me of an early 2000s crime drama. But the font's kind of nice. The colour palette is really quite nice. There's lots of neon colours. The blacks are good, but not so crushed that you can't really see what's going on. And then there's lots of blues and yellows, which look amazing. Then there's a few scenes where we get some reds, which are really nice, and some purples, which are really, really nice. The colour is probably the best part of this film for me. I like the colour. I just wish there was more nighttime neon, because that's when this film is at its most nice looking. There's probably the right amount of it, narratively speaking. Might have been a little bit much if there was loads of nighttime scenes, but it does look nicer. The Hollow Earth bit looks quite good, but very video gamey like most of the CGI day bits are. It's a good look, although a little bit confusing because the sky is also the floor. I can't really work out how the structure of this Hollow Earth really works. Is it the insidey bit of a ball? Or is it like a ball inside of a ball so that you get a layer? If it's a layer and there's a ball inside of the bigger ball, is the ball inside of the bigger ball hollow too? Is it hollow Earths all the way down? Is the Earth like a babushka doll? The music was a little bit nondescript really. I couldn't really tell you any of the motifs, and I couldn't tell you any of the themes of the characters. Like, I can't tell you the theme of Godzilla or Kong or anything like that. Mostly it just feels like stock music. However, there is that one bit that very briefly has some cool electro beat. That bit was pretty cool. I liked that bit. It was the only music-y bit I really remembered. Apart from that bit at the very end where Kong goes home to listen to the air that I breathe. And the end credits where it had this very atmospheric Blade Runner kind of sound, which would go really great with the colour palette. But I don't really remember any of that being part of the film, so it's a bit nothing really. All the music's just a bit uninteresting. It's not a great film, but it is okay, and it is entertaining. Although Kong and Godzilla should have kissed, it would have been a perfect film if it ended in a sex scene.